Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at this free MacBook Pro a complete stranger gave to me in a computer store. Now I walked into a computer store for an iPhone 6s battery replacement program. This is an Apple service provider, and there's someone there in the store as well, and they just got their MacBook Pro back, and basically they diagnosed it and it had a dead keyboard. They had removed the hard drive and cloned everything onto an external hard drive. I was talking about Final Cut Pro events and all that kind of stuff. And the guy basically said, well, I don't want it anymore, do you guys want it for parts? They said no. And he said, oh, well, I'll just throw it out then, you guys got a bin or whatever. I looked at him and said, hey, what's wrong with it? And he said, oh, the keyboard's unresponsive, it's really old, so there's no use to me anymore. And he's looked at me and he said, do you want it? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll take it. So this is the laptop itself in exact condition as I got it. I haven't cleaned it, haven't done anything with it. It did have battery charge in it, so I powered it up in the car and it turned on. Now I did post about this on Twitter, so if you were following me on Twitter, you'd already know about this MacBook Pro about 5 minutes after I actually got it. So taking the screws out, and you can see there that it had no hard drive, that's why it was having that blinking question mark. But basically, I'm going to go ahead and open up the laptop and take a look inside and see exactly what's up with this laptop, if there's any noticeable water damage or something like that inside the laptop. Opening it up here, you can see obviously there is no hard drive, which is expected, as I saw the guy actually holding the hard drive that came out of this machine. There's a huge dent in the bottom there, which I'm not sure how you could possibly do that, but anyway. Taking out the RAM here, you can see that it is a 4GB stick, meaning this computer has been upgraded to the maximum of 8 gigs of RAM. Now pulling out my unibody MacBook here, this is the 2010 model, it's got 4 gigs of RAM, I think it's a 2.4 gigahertz Intel Core 2 Duo, and it's got a 240GB SSD inside of here. So we're going to be taking that out and putting that into the MacBook Pro and seeing if it will boot. Now the guy did tell me that this is a 2009 MacBook Pro, so technically it should not boot Sierra, but I was just going to see anyway. So you can see there is inside of my laptop. I did replace the battery with a genuine Apple battery a while back. But basically, if I go ahead and remove this bracket here, I can pull out the SSD and plug it into the MacBook Pro. Now keep in mind, my MacBook was actually on. I didn't even turn it off when I removed the hard drive. But we'll get to that in a minute. So go ahead and remove the screws here on the MacBook Pro. And I can go ahead and put this SSD in. Now, because this is macOS Sierra and Sierra isn't natively supported, although you can actually install it with a slight little mod, which is easy to do, the computer won't boot up. Now, I just thought I'd try this anyway, just to see if it would get anywhere. Basically, opened it up, powered it up, and whilst it's all lit up and everything, it hung on this white screen and then came up with a cross. It wasn't happy. So I noticed that I left my MacBook unibody on. As you can see there, the light is still on. So I'm like, oh, I didn't know what it was going to do now that I disconnected the hard drive, it was still on. So I went ahead and screwed in the SSD again, and we're going to see exactly what happened to the laptop. Does it kernel panic? What does it do? Now it is in sleep, obviously, but I was a bit worried for it. I was not sure what was going to happen if I had corrupted anything or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and screw the bottom plate back in. Now I did lose a screw here, and that was because it actually fell out of the hole. Like, I had all the screws when I restored this MacBook unibody, but basically it just fell out one day and I don't know where it went. So basically I'm one screw short, which is a bit of a pain, but it doesn't really matter. This laptop's quite old anyway, and I'm only using it for school. Okay, so the moment of truth here, we're going to go ahead and open up this laptop from sleep, and it resumes like nothing ever happened. This computer is fully functional. I was using it later that Arvo, and it works just fine, no problems. It didn't even care that I took the hard drive out of it while it was running, which is kind of cool. So I thought I'd leave that in there just to show you guys that it actually doesn't do anything. So now it was time to give the MacBook Pro a bit of a clean. So I cleaned the screen, all the case, and everything like that. I also bent out this dent in the side of the MacBook best I could with some pliers. So it looks a little bit bad, but it's a lot better than what it was. and I could go ahead and reinstall the bottom of the MacBook Pro. Now it was time to do some more cleaning, so I decided to get rid of this sticker on the top here, which involved a lot of effort to try and get the adhesive loose. Then I used some eucalyptus oil to remove the sticky adhesive. Clean the keyboard, screen and everything else, and this MacBook Pro is looking nice. As you can see, the screen comes up quite well. There doesn't seem to be any noticeable scratches or anything like that, and the inside, the palm rest and the keyboard look to be in very good condition. Now, I bought this Mac OS X Snow Leopard DVD on eBay about a week ago, and it just arrived yesterday. So I thought I'd put it in and test it out with this MacBook, and sure enough, it booted up into the Mac OS X 10.6.3 installer. Now, I don't have a hard drive in it still, as I don't have one laying around to put in it, so I can't actually install anything on it. But you can see here the trackpad's working, and we're able to get into the setup. Now, the person who gave this to me, the complete stranger who gave it to me, basically said that the keyboard was broken. So I went ahead and opened up the Wi-Fi settings and clicked on my Wi-Fi network, and then went to type on the keyboard, and it works. The keyboard's not broken. I later opened up Terminal, and the keyboard works just fine. Caps lock, keys, numbers, everything works just fine. Even the eject key works. So there's nothing actually wrong with this laptop. Now, the hinge was extremely loose. It was flopping around and would sometimes just sort of fall back. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the hinges. Now, to do that, I have to remove the LCD clamshell from the unibody MacBook Pro, so I can take off the clutch cover, which is that piece of plastic, and tighten up the screws that will allow me to tighten up the whole assembly. To remove the LCD clamshell, you need to go ahead and rest the MacBook Pro on an edge of a table and open up the screen before you remove the screws. This will allow you to lift out the display without it actually being closed, and you wouldn't be able to get it out of the MacBook. You then need to remove all the screws surrounding it, and basically then you can just lift up on the display and it will come free of the unibody housing. As you can see here, it's now removed, and we can get to start on fixing the hinges. Now, you can remove the clutch cover by sliding it, and then it just unclips. Now, I didn't fully unclip the clutch cover. All I did was unclip one end, and then tighten up the screws. Now, this side here was already quite tight and wasn't flopping around too much, but you can see in there is the screws, and all you need to get is a Torx bit and go ahead and tighten up the screws. Now, you can see here, they were already quite tight, so this side was fine. But if I go ahead and move over to the other side, you can see here this side is wobbling around like it's not even screwed in. So all I'm going to do here is tighten it up, and it should align itself quite well when you tighten up the screws anyway. You can see here, make sure they're nice and tight. This will stop the screen from sliding around and becoming loose again. You then go ahead and reinstall the clutch cover and put the LCD clamshell back into the MacBook housing. Okay, so you can see here we've reinstalled the LCD clamshell, and you can see here that it's nice and strong. It's not flopping around too much. Now, it does still slightly fall down right at the back and right at the front, but this is as good as it's going to get for a laptop of this age. It's nice and strong. It doesn't wobble around too much like it was doing before. So that is a successful repair on this MacBook Pro. We can go ahead and reinstall the bottom plate, And that's about all I can do, as I don't have a hard drive to put in it to install an operating system. I will be getting one soon though, so I don't know if I'll do a video on it or not, but basically I'm going to be putting a hard drive in here, and I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with the laptop after that. Okay, so this MacBook is a mid-2009 MacBook Pro unibody. It features an Intel Core 2 Duo running at 2.26 GHz. It has 8 GB of RAM installed, and it has an NVIDIA GeForce 9400M graphics card. Now, this does not run the latest version of macOS. It only gets up to macOS 10.11.6 El Capitan, but it's still a perfectly usable laptop in 2017. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time, another one of my great videos.